Hello there, this is Eric at Learn Design with Eric, and I wanted to just welcome you to my channel again. It's been quite a long time since I made the video that I'm going to share with you today. I had a viewer ask me for the long cut. There is an earlier video that's based on the same thing, which is making a map in Illustrator, but he wanted to see the full extended cut. And I found it in my hard drive and I am going to upload it. It's going to be right after this. So I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of what it is about, and I'm going to cut off the original intro. So essentially what this is I do graphic design work professionally, and one of the things that I do a lot is I make custom maps for printed materials that are going to be used in brochures, catalogs, and the like, for businesses that are going to market to new clients. And so essentially what you're doing is kind of giving somebody a snapshot of where you're at, where your business is at, or where your client's business is at, so that they can, quickly see, oh yeah, that's close to my work, or oh yeah, that's close to my house, and make a decision about maybe making a call, clicking a website link, scanning a QR code and going to the website, or just driving by the office or driving by the location. So that's kind of what these maps are generally used for. And so there's a lot of decisions that you can make as you're making them, and I talk about a lot of those things throughout the videos, so just feel free to follow along. And if you have any questions, post those things in the description below. The other thing that I wanted to bring to your attention is you probably noticed that this is not the old studio that I used to shoot my video intros in. And behind me, I've got a truck and I've got my RV here, fifth wheel. And one of the things that I do now is I don't have to go home to a home. My wife and I sold the house in Eugene, Oregon, and we travel full time in our fifth wheel. And I work from wherever I want to work, and it's a fabulous lifestyle. And this is something that I get to do uniquely as a graphic designer. And there's a lot of jobs that are capable of being remote these days, sales jobs and the like that can be remote, but a creative job that's also remote is pretty fantastic. I mean, I still get to have my face-to-face via Zoom or the like, but it doesn't, it's a unique situation where I get to travel full time and still make a great income, and an income that is not easily replaceable by AI, by different software. And so it's a great design, great choice if you're thinking about what I'm going to do in the future or what I might do moving forward. So I would highly recommend it. And if you want to know more about my lifestyle and how we did this and why we did this, then I would highly recommend you check out my YouTube channel called Fish Tales. It's about my wife and I, the Fishnellers, Fish Tales. We're not fishermen, just keep that in mind. And we talk all about the choice of why we bought certain rig. I'm going to be doing a video review of my truck pretty soon. That's behind me there. You see it kind of over my shoulder. And about the lot that we bought in Boulder City, Nevada. That's where we are right now. And I just wanted to invite you to join us on our other YouTube channel if you have not already checked that out. And if you've not been yet to this YouTube channel, please like, subscribe, and share if you have somebody that you think could use this information. Okay, so we are on Adobe Illustrator here. I've got it open right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a map. And there's a lot of different ways you can do this, but one of the ways that I do it more often than not, like I literally just did one today. So I'm going to pull up a random map here. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to just go in here. Yeah, World of Wonder, whatever that is. It's an art gallery. It's at somebody's house. Okay, fine. So here's Worlds of Wonder. So I'm going to zoom out far enough that I can see some of the main map points. Get rid of that so that people from the area know how to get there, right? So this Old Dominion Drive is going to be important. Whatever these main small streets are going to also be important. And I'm probably not going to be able to show this, but I'm gonna pretend for a second that I might use some of that other area, or I might do a zoom in, like I've seen where you have like a larger map where you show these main pieces, and then you have a small zoom in that shows just this area right here, right? And so that might be a good solution here. So let's pretend for a second that we're going to do that tactic. So I'm going to go ahead and take a screenshot of this and print my screen. And in Illustrator, I can just create a new thing here. And let's just, I don't know, for a second, just pretend we're going to do a traditional letter size, 11, 8.5. So there's our letter size piece. I can hit Control V. It's going to paste my entire desktop in there. So you can kind of see where we're at, right? And I'm going to scale this down. I'm holding Shift to constrain it so it doesn't adjust the aspect of it. And I want to show at least this downtown area, probably like that much of the map there. I want to see these main highways here. And of course I need to see the Worlds of Wonder place, this gallery that apparently is there. And, you know, maybe I want to show this Georgetown Pike. I'm not familiar with the area, so I have no idea if that's a well-known place, but it is on the Google map and it's yellow, so it's some sort of main highway of some sort. And generally speaking, I like to have the map centered top to bottom within the window. And ideally, I like to have it centered left to right as well. So we're going to just lock that down. That's Control 2. So generally what I'll do is I'll lock this down. I'll call this map org, like original. And I'll make a new layer. And the new layer, I'm going to start with freeways, right? And what I'll generally do is just use the old pen tool. And I'm going to draw past where I started. And I'm just going to start making all these paths for this freeway. And you don't have to be too crazy because with accuracy, like you don't have to worry about it too much, because even for a well-known place or some place that is well-known for your town, you know, nobody's going to be like, oh, well, that freeway turns a little bit more in that direction than in the other direction. I mean, it's just not, you don't have to sweat it, is what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be perfect. What it needs to be is a good representation so that people know where it is and know what to do so that they can make their way there. So I'm making this a 2-laner because I want to show that it's a main road. And I'm just leaving a little bit of gap between these things so that it's obviously, you know, a main highway. And I'm going to color it as such, which I'll show you in a minute. That might be a little tight. No, that's fine. And, you know, one of these maps, especially this one with as much complexity as going on with all these different highways, I don't know if I'm not going to draw all these lanes. I'm probably going to try to keep it a little bit more simple. And then that's the other thing, of course. You know, how is this going to be viewed? Is this going to be viewed in print form? Is it going to be very small on a website? Is it going to be very small on a brochure? Because all of those considerations are going to tell you, because if you're looking at this, you know, at a small size like this, then you don't even need to do 2 lanes on this highway. You could just do one thicker line for the highway. But at this point, I'm going to assume that this is going to be like maybe, you know, full size on the back of a sheet of paper or something so that people know how to get there. Like they're going to have a gallery announcement on the front and flip over for map kind of thing. You know, and of course, you know, more and more these days, you might be better suited to literally just putting a QR code on the front of the thing, and then somebody can click that with their phone and then use it to GPS map themselves to the location. But there are times when you want to put a map so people can orient themselves to, you know, where your location is. So for this road, because it's not a main highway, I'm just going to go ahead and make this a single road. Just going to put that in like that. So let's put Old Dominion in. And so once I get all of the kind of main thoroughfares put in, the next thing is going to be determining how thick I want these strokes to be so that they have kind of a hierarchy. Because obviously if everything's the same width, then it's hard to tell what the main highways are and what the side roads are. And right now I'm just using the default setting, which is currently a two-point line. So I'm going to draw this into, even though it's way outside the edge, because again, I could decide to scale out. And this morning, actually, when I was drawing the map that I did for a client, I decided to scale out, and I even adjusted the scale of the map. And by that, I mean there was a lot of extra space. This one is not going to suffer from that problem, but there was a huge amount of space between what was up above that was kind of important and what was down below that was important. There was like a huge space with nothing in the middle. And so I actually created a duplicate version of this, dragged it over to the side, and then what was above I actually brought physically closer to what was down below. Even though it's technically out of scale, it was, again, it's more of the representation. You're not trying to create a perfect scale model of the map. You're trying to create something that's instantly recognizable. Oh, I know where this is. And oh, that's where that is in reference to where I am. So that's what I do most of the time with these types of maps. So then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw in a little star. And I generally just put a little teeny star on these maps because I may decide to do something different later. That's really huge. Let's try that again. So I'm holding Shift and Alt to constrain it and center it on that point. And it has decided to create a really thick stroke and no fill. So I'm going to reverse that. So there's my point of interest. And so now we're going to decide how to adjust the hierarchy. So these points here, these are the kind of the main drags on this thing. And I oftentimes will just use the color right off the Google map. I mean, I'll just literally sample it. So I'm going to just sample this yellow. And of course, it's applying it to the fill because that's what I had highlighted at the time. But I'm going to go back. And then I'm going to make that a 2-point line. 3-point line? 3-point line. And then I'm going to copy. So that's Control C. And then Control B, as in boy, is going to put it behind. And then I'm going to fill that with this darker tone here, which it just selected the wrong thing. Let's try this again. I'm going to select this color right here. And again, it's applying it to the fill, not to the stroke, and I want it on the stroke. So we're going to do that. And then we are going to make this stroke ever so thick compared to the other. So we're going to make it 4-point. The other one was 3-point. So you can see those lines outlining there. That's a little bit too dark. I think I'm going to make that a little bit more orange. So double click on that, and then you can change the color very easily. So I'm going to make that a little bit more orange and thicker. 4-point, maybe even still lighter in that. Still a little too, well, yeah, I can change it right there too. Let's get rid of the cyan. 5100. Move that, maybe 7100. That's better. That's good. And I can actually just select that and drop it down there. I can do the same thing with this yellow. And I like to clean up my palettes here, my color palettes, and remove extra colors I'm not using. So I'm going to remove that. I'm also going to remove all of this excess because I like to keep it as clean as possible. Remove that. Yes, thank you. And this will be gone. So then, let's look at these other streets, right? So these are other kind of main drags, but not as big of a main drag as that last one we were on. Select that and select that. And this. So we had a 3-point line on those others, so maybe we do a 2-point line on these. It's a 2-point. Well, we got a double there, so maybe we will do a 3-point, or let's do 2.5, right? And then we're going to copy, and it's going to be Control B as in boy, send to the back, and then these are going to be 3.5, and these lines are going to be filled with this orange. So you're going to see those show up. And now there's some overlapping things going on, right? So because I did those second, they're actually showing up on top of these freeways, which could be confusing because I'm guessing, knowing what I know about freeways, that the freeways are actually on top of the other roads. So what we're going to do is we're going to just go ahead and bring that whole thing to the front, which is Control Shift and right bracket, which is right curly bracket. And that brings it forward all the way to the front. So you can see how that highway is now over the top of that road instead of the other way around. And this road here goes underneath that road. Now, again, if I'm not 100% sure about it, I could go to Google Maps and do a street view and confirm 100% that that was the case. But at this point, we're going to say it's good enough. And we can look at it now on, we can just hide that layer, the map layer, and look at it and see where we're at. So there's all of our freeways. Of course, it's real confusing right now because we don't have any sort of background fills or any points of interest or any sort of roads that kind of lead us in that direction. So why don't we go ahead and put a background fill on this, right? So this is our freeways. We're going to lock that layer. Create another layer, and we're going to call this background fill. Now you could fill with this gray, and that wouldn't be a bad strategy. It's a, you know, it's a nice neutral color, but I'm going to go with a little bit warmer tone because it's pretty dark. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this into the orange area, and it's going to show the original color here and the new color there. Now, depending on your monitor, you may or may not be able to see the difference between those tones. I'm going to drag this to the right so you can see a little bit more. So you can see the top layer is the newly selected color, the bottom layer is the previous color. But I don't want anything that quite that dramatic. So I'm going to go ahead and dial it back. Not quite to white, but whiter. And I'm going to put that in there. And then I'm going to go ahead and just grab a rectangle. And again, going past the edge, go ahead and drag this down all the way so that it covers the whole thing up. And there's that. And then we're going to hide that because it's obviously covering up the entire map that we're working with, so I can't see anything. But it's in there for now. Create a new layer. And probably the next thing we need to put in so that it's more obvious where we're at is side roads. So we're going to put side roads in with 2 S's apparently. Let's remove that. So side roads. Now, this background fill is pretty light. I don't personally believe that it would be a good strategy to use a white road on this. And I can show you what white would look like, but it's going to be too light. I can tell you that right now. So there's that. And if we filled this with white, let's say we had a 2-point stroke. Obviously, you can see the orange really well there. But let's just say for a second that we decided we were going to do that in white. So, I mean, you can see it, but only just. It's definitely not going to pass ADA regulations, right? So let's just pretend for a second they're going to use the same color for the road, which obviously we're not because we won't be able to see it because it's the same color. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take that same warm kind of off-white color and I'm just going to dial it to like a medium gray and just bring it over a bit so that it stays warm. And I'm going to bring that over there so that I can have it in my palette. This is going to be a 2-point line. And then we'll make sure that we've got the right color on there. We'll kill off the stroke. And so now we've got plenty of contrast. We can see it just fine. But it's not so big and garish. In fact, I might even dial that back just a touch more. It's a little bit dark. Let's just dial it back to there. That's better. Okay. And copy that back in there. Kill off this one. So again, we're going to hide that background fill. And the side roads are going to be important. So which side roads do we want, right? Like, do we need all these side roads up here? Probably not. We probably really just need this road right here because that's a main thoroughfare, you can see. We might put in the side roads that get you to your location, right? And one way we can look at those is to go in a little bit. So we're going to put in this Kirby Road because that goes right past the location of where we're going. We're probably going to put in Birch Road because, again, that is heading right towards where we're going. So I'm going to put in Kirby and Idlewood because it's all kind of one long road you can see here. So let's go ahead and go back to the map and start with Kirby. So we'll go ahead and start it right here because might as well. And we're just using the pen tool here to draw. And you could use the freeform pen tool or even the pencil tool if you had like a stylus tablet. But I just pen tool everything because it gives me the most control. If I want to change something later, change a path later, it's super easy. And I can just maintain control. And as you can see, once you get good at this thing, which if you want to learn how to do more pen tool work, you can learn on one of my earlier videos. I actually do a video where I talk about using the pen tool. I think it was like one of my first videos I did. But maybe I'll do another one at a later date. Okay, so good enough there. Do we want to put in Westmoreland? I don't think so. I think we don't need that. So we're going to put in this road right here. And that's a real simple one because it's perfectly straight. That's handy. And then we need to put in these roads here, right? Okay, so there's my little thing. Look at that. It's like a bunny rabbit, right? Got a bunny rabbit with two tails. It's kind of interesting. And I feel like these side streets right here are a bit too thick. So I'm going to make these 1.5 point because those are definitely smaller streets. And one thing I like to do on these types of objects right here where they end, you can do a round end. And you just do that right here in the stroke palette. You can have a cap that's completely straight. You can have a cap that actually goes past the point, a projecting cap, or you can have a round cap. And on those types of objects where they end like that, I like to put a round cap because it just makes it look a little bit more finished. And then we're going to create a new layer. We're going to put it above everything, and we're going to call it labels. So these are going to be our street names and different things like that. And we can take a quick look at this map without the labels by just adding that background fill. You can kind of see where everything's at and, you know, in reference to everything and simple stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that back on. Now type. So one of the things that I always recommend is using a sans serif font for your maps. And I generally use something like either Arial or maybe Helvetica if I have Helvetica on here. I do have Helvetica New, but that's italic. Let's just do Arial. Arial's totally fine and readable. No problems. So we're going to use Arial. I'm on PC. If I was on my Mac, I would definitely use Helvetica. But anyway, so, you know, notice how most of the street names, if you had a, you know, if you had a vertical line, you know, if this is a vertical line, right? So if the street name is on the right of this, if it was perfectly vertical, your street name is going to read kind of down like this, because the idea is you don't want somebody's head to have to turn fully sideways, right? So if you were labeling this road, you're going to be labeling on the top of it or directly on top like they did here, where they literally go over the top of the road. And if it was leaning this way, it's going to be labeled up here, so that it's real easy for somebody to read without turning their head fully sideways. Now, if there are streets that are completely perpendicular, then what I'll generally, and vertical, what I'll generally do is I will label everything so that they lean the same direction, because you don't want a vertical object labeled starting from the top going down on one side of the map and on another side of the map starting from the bottom going up. And also keep in mind, people read left to right, top to bottom if they're US English. So you always want to go top to bottom if it's a perfectly vertical object. So let's do, so we got this here, we got Kirby Road, right? Kirby Road. And also keep in mind your punctuation. So if you're going to put a period after road, then you have to put periods after everything. But generally speaking, I don't do those. And then also font size. So again, keep in mind where you're going to use it and how far away people are going to be when they're looking at it, and also your audience, right? But generally speaking, for maps, especially if I'm going to do it full on the backside of a page of paper or something, 8 point's plenty big enough. It's about the size that I'm looking at here, and I can read all those just fine. So I'm going to put a copy out there, and then I'm just going to put it right here. And you see how my cursor changes as I go from the middle? It allows me to move it. If I go to the corner, it allows me to scale it. If I go just a little further out, it shows that little kind of curved corner. That means to lean. And it'll show you a percentage, like a degree percentage, or a degree angle for you. So I'm going to start with that one. We're going to do Birch Road next. And the only reason I leave that one in the middle is so that it's easy for me to duplicate. I don't have to copy and paste and have it paste in some random spot. So Birch Road, if I can type Birch Road. Again, make sure you watch your punctuation so you're consistent on all your pieces. So, and by this way, I mean I'm going to grab the freeways thing, because it's a freeway graphic. I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to paste it into the labels layer. And I'm going to change the color of it to not colored. I'm going to move this path up a bit. Because it's got so many curves in it, and I don't see a section that I want to put the name on, I don't want to put it right here because it's going to be in the middle of all this. I want to put it up here, but because it's curving, and that's a pretty long name, there's no way it's going to fit. So I'm going to copy this because it's that same styling. And then I'm going to paste it. Now, notice how when I'm over here, if I paste it here, if I paste it right there, then it's going to replace that text. But if I paste it right here, see how it says path? Click it down and see how it does all that. I'm going to Control V it, and it puts it right on that path. And then this little handle right here, zoom in a bit so you can see it. See this little pink line right here, and you see this little arrow? That allows me to adjust the positioning of that. I can just slide it right along that path. So I'm going to put it about right here. And one of the things, and I've shown you this in my kerning episode, But see how huge the gap is between F and A? It's pretty awful. So I'm going to hold down Alt, and I'm going to just left arrow, bink, bink, bink. Just tighten that up because it looks bad. And it'll be especially noticeable if you were on top of a hump. Like if I put this right here, you're going to see this T is going to rock forward and the S is going to rock back kind of thing. And that'll create an extended space. And similarly, if you put it in a valley, like right here, it might actually get too tight. So you might have to, loosen it up a bit. So kerning can be really useful for those types of issues. So then the next thing is whatever these streets are here. I'm not familiar with those, and I'm too zoomed out on this map to see them. So I'm going to just scooch in. So there is your map. Now, the one thing that we didn't do much of yet was make this real obvious, this point of interest. So we're going to lock down the layer. I believe that this is on the side roads layer. Nope, it is not. It is on the freeways layer. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to just cut it out of there. And we're going to call this our map point of interest. Point, if I can spell point. Point of interest. Interest. Thank you. Control F is going to put it in front. It's going to paste it in the exact spot in the front. And we're going to go ahead and zoom out just a bit here. And I'm going to make an ellipse, a circle. Hold shift to constrain it so that it's perfectly a circle. And put it behind the other one. And then I'm going to select that star and hold shift again to constrain it, make sure that it stays the same exact perfect star that it was before.
Move it to the top of that and constrain this. And I'm going to make it white. Going back to our fill here, make it white, and this is going to turn to, now I don't know about the orange. The orange might not be quite strong enough. Maybe what I'll do is actually select this red from the interstate sign and use that for our point of interest. So we're about ready to reveal our finished map. So there is our finished map, right? And maybe we can hide the org map layer so it's not so distracting. But there is our finished map. So we got 495 right here. We got the 267, the 694, the 123, 309. We got Birch Road and all this other stuff. And, you know, we could really pick any spot that we want to use. I left a Forest Villa lane up there. That's funny. Let's kill that off. Just delete that. No other extraneous map content. So you could decide what you do or do not want to keep here, right? And you might want to even consider putting in Chesterbrook Gardens, Salona Village, West McLean, Langley, that kind of stuff, because it might be really important to finding the position. Or you might even want to put a point of interest like the Potomac School in, or this map, or this park. So there's all kinds of things you can do to orient yourself. Georgetown, Langley High School here, or, you know, whatever. So there's a lot of different choices you could make to make the map more sensible to somebody to get there. But, you know, I think I would probably just literally zoom in like, you know, maybe this far and just show this intersection here of these highways, Old Dominion Drive. I'd probably move Kirby Road, the name, up to here, and then move Great Falls up to here so it's more visible, you know, that kind of thing. But just show like this much of the map because it's enough to get there. But anyway, I just wanted to show you that and show you how you could use Illustrator to make a simple map or a complex one at your option. I'm not going to do all that while you guys are watching. But you can see how you could make a really great scalable vector map. And the neat thing about this is print quality. You could do it, you know, as small as you want or fit it on the side of the globe if you wanted, because it is a vector graphic. So you can make it as big or as small as you want and not lose any quality. So thanks for watching today. This is Eric at Learn Design with Eric.